Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session on polity and constitution. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. And yes, happy Onam to all those who are celebrating Onam. We just wait for a minute, let others join, and then we begin our discussion for the day. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so others can keep on joining. We'll do a quick recap in the meantime. Now, in the previous class, that is yesterday, the first class, I actually just discussed the very basic elements of what is important as far as the syllabus is concerned, right? Then we discussed the book list, what books to be read, and then we moved on to understanding some basic concepts, right? So we also discussed some very basic concepts like Schedule 7, Article 246, separation of power, division of power, so that in future, if I use these terms, you're not completely in confusion of what exactly this is, right? Once we are done with all this, we jumped on to discussing the union executive, right? And under the union executive, we also saw the topic president. Now, while we discuss the topic president, a couple of very basic things like the elections. So the Indian president is elected directly by the people, yes or no? Indian president is elected directly by people, yes or no? Of course not. Very good. So it is indirect election, right? And the voting is through an open ballot, yes or no? And EVMs are used. Okay, the voting is through secret ballot and no EVMs are used, and it's called there's no whip, right? You're free to vote, conscience vote, and the elections are conducted by the ECI, Election Commission of India. Article 54 says that the electoral college, the voter group, comprises of all the elected MPs, all the elected MLAs of the states. And here states includes the UTs of Pondicherry and Delhi, because these two UTs have what? Legislative assembly. Okay. Then we also went on to understand the concept of vote value, the vote value of MPs, vote value of MLA, all these things, right? Now we'll move on and discuss the other remaining aspects. Firstly, we'll be discussing about the single transferable vote. We'll also discuss what is proportional representation, very basic topics, and then other topics related to the elections of the president, the appointment, removal, all such things, right? But before we move on, we'll have 5 questions for today. So let's start our discussion today with 5 practice questions. And of course, the time is 45 seconds. You like it or not, that's the time frame. As simple as that. Please don't claim, sir, less time, more time, click by mistake, chose the option by mistake. Please. No such excuses will be. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first session on polity and constitution. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Great, audible and visible, amazing. So we'll wait for a few minutes, and in the meantime, others will keep on joining, and then we'll begin our discussion for the day. Okay, so let's begin now. Now, this class, over the course of next 24 days or 24 working days, Monday to Friday, every day from 5 to 8:30, we'll be discussing about a topic under GS paper 2. So GS paper 2 comprises of 4 topics: polity and constitution, governance, social justice, and international relations. So our topic of concern is polity and constitution. Okay, so welcome everyone, and since I'm audible as well as visible to most of you, in case there's any issue with the voice or you can't see me suddenly, just refresh your screen, refresh your web page. It is more likely that the error would be from your side, so it can simply be solved through refreshing the screen. Okay. Now, this class, the classes are going to be, as I said, from 5 to 8:30, and a very important element is a break. Of course, we'll have a break somewhere around 6:40, 45, a 10 to 15 minutes of break, depending on how we finish the topic, will also be there. So let's now begin this amazing journey, I always say, of this constitution. we'll be discussing about various provisions of our constitution, the statutes, laws, provisions, various landmark judgments, right? Various bodies, their functions, issues, challenges, concerns, all such things. But yes, keeping in mind the UPSC syllabus, because ultimately we're here to clear the examination. Yes, knowledge of polity is very important. Any informed citizen should have basic information on polity, right? But beyond that, our concern is also to clear the examination. So the focus has to be always on what is relevant content for the examination, right? Otherwise, the topics in UPSC are never ending, right? So with this, let's begin our discussion. First up, in every introductory class, since this is the first class of polity and constitution, three things are important. Number one is, why are we going to study polity? Why? What's this obsession? You are spending your evening here 3.5 hours for the next 1 month, wasting your time out playing cricket, roaming around with friends, etc., watching some Netflix series, but you are devoting your time, precious time, into studying polity. So what's the importance of polity in the prelims and in the main examination? Number one. And number two, what exactly is the syllabus? What do we need to cover? These two things, and then of course, what is that magical book list? Those reference books that if you study those material, those resources, you would score amazing marks in this topic. So we'll come to the so-called magical book list as well, right? But first up, why? So if you look at the previous year questions in the prelims, so I hope everybody here knows that in prelims you have 100 questions, each question worth 2 marks, the total being 200 marks. And yes, there is negative marking, right? So these are the number of questions that have been asked from polity in the last 10-11 years. So in 2011, 12 marks worth questions, into 24 marks questions, 2012, 20 marks questions, so on and so forth. But let's just focus on the questions asked after 2014. Why? Because till 2014, marks of CSAT were added in the calculation of total marks scored by an aspirant in the prelim examination. And based on this total, you were either eligible or you were rejected by UPSC to sit in the main examination, right? So as far as the cutoff is concerned, cutoff, what's the cutoff? For those who don't know, cutoff refers to the qualifying score, that minimum score below which all the students are rejected, and if you get score above cutoff, you are selected for the next round, that is the subjective examination, right? So in 2015, 15 questions were asked, meaning 15 into 2, 30 marks questions were asked from polity and constitution, right? And in 2015, the cutoff was 107. 107 marks out of 200 was the cutoff. In 2016, a very bad year for polity, just 6 questions were asked. Difficult to justify my rule also, right? But anyway, and the cutoff increased. The cutoff in 2016 has been the highest in the last few years. Highest, 116 out of 200. And then we have seen a slow dip in the cutoff. 2017, amazing year for polity. 22 questions were asked, 44 marks worth questions, and cutoff dipped sharply to 98. Sorry, 105. 105. In 2018 and 2019, 15 marks questions in both the years from polity, cutoff came down. In both these years, cutoff was 98 marks. 98 marks out of 200. Not even 50% marks, right? In 2020, I feel was a year where the easiest possible questions that could have been asked from polity were asked. And the cutoff came down further to 92.5. In 2021, 18 questions were asked. Cutoff has come down further now, 87.54. Last year in 2022, 10 questions were asked. Cutoff has been 88.22 to be exact for the open category. This year also, we have 15 questions which have been asked from polity. Now, since the exam is not yet over, we are yet to know the cutoff, right? So, but you can expect the cutoff to be anywhere in the zone of 90, 95, not more than that. Now, my idea to tell you the cutoff is to help you understand and also place your expectations reasonably, because most of you have come from all these CBSE schools, right? And in the CBSE, you see the marks that toppers get these days: 99% marks, 99.4, 99.6, 0.8, and still the topper is sad. A very sad face. I lost 0.2 marks, emotional. Let them come to UPSC. The toppers in UPSC get 50% marks, right? At 50%, you are declared a topper. So that will be a pleasant surprise for them. So the idea being that you have to understand and have your expectations reasonably placed, so as to not feel uselessly demotivated. That if there's a MCQ paper of 100 questions and you don't score 140 marks, you are feeling sad. You don't need to score 140 marks. It's very difficult to score 140 marks, and it's not required also. So that's it. So polity is sufficiently important. You see, around if you score 7% marks in polity, you'll be 1/3 of your cutoff in most cases, right? Sometimes even more. That's it. And normally the questions in prelims from polity are on the easier side compared to say other topics that are there in UPSC. Second thing is the syllabus. Now, what's the syllabus of polity as far as UPSC is concerned? So UPSC has given us this syllabus, though nothing is clear. This is such a brief syllabus that you can make out nothing from what exactly is the expectation. Nevertheless, let's see. Indian polity and governance. The first question. We are taking this class on polity, and what exactly is the meaning of polity? So polity refers to form of government. Like in India, we follow what form of government? So we follow parliamentary form of government. A parliamentary form of government. That's what we follow in the country. So Indian form of government, and of course governments, the constitution, then the political system in the country. Political system refers to the process of making government decisions. That's called the political system. Then Panchayati Raj, the local self-governance in the country, public policy, and also rights issues. Rights issues refers to fundamental rights, FRs, fundamental rights in the country. So normally very easy questions are asked from this topic. Say they'll ask you a question: right to privacy is a part of which fundamental right? Right to marry somebody of your choice is a part of which fundamental right? These kind of questions. But yes, to tell you frankly, the syllabus is not quite detailed when it comes to prelims. Anyway, moving on to the next stage, the main examination, which has two parts: the subjective and the interview. So the subjective part has how many questions? So in the mains paper, GS paper 2, 250 marks. You have 20 questions in total, 10 questions worth 10 marks each, and 10 questions worth 15 marks each, totaling it to 20 questions, 250 marks. So you can see that any given year, 2013 onwards, that's when the syllabus changed and we have started following the new pattern. So 2013 onwards, you observe that till 2022, we have seen roughly 80 to 100, 110 marks worth questions out of 250 from polity and constitution. And I'll just remind you, I am not focusing on questions coming from, say, governance, etc. Right? So it is strictly polity and constitution. So quite a large, sizable chunk of marks have been allocated to polity in the mains also. This makes this topic very important. That's the justification part. So don't worry, you are not wasting your time. You are studying a very, very important topic. Clear? Now, when you look at the syllabus of the main examination, that's where UPSC has issued some clarity. So here, things are much more clear compared to the prelim syllabus. So here, the syllabus says Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, a topic you'll be covering under your modern India, right? The Councils Act, the Government of India Acts, etc. Evolution, features of the Constitution, amendments. So a very good thing about our Constitution is that this rule book, we call this a living document, something which can grow, which is alive, because this Constitution is open to changes. It allows itself to be modified. That's called amendment. So far, we have made 105 such amendments. In this regard, our Constitution is quite detailed, and also it is quite flexible compared to, say, a country like USA. The US Constitution was made in 1789 after the Philadelphia Convention, 1789, and from 1789 they have made only 27 changes. In fact, the first 10 changes were made in 1791 only, the Bill of Rights. So Indian Constitution is way more flexible if you compare it to some other Western constitutions. Anyway, then see, the syllabus also says significant provisions, not the entire Constitution. A big misconception that we have to mug up the entire Constitution. That is not required. You just have to know the important provisions, right? The important, selectively, those articles which are relevant for us. That's it. And then basic structure, a very unique and interesting concept developed by the Supreme Court of India in a case that some of you must have heard called the Keshwanand Bharati case. So basic structure, in the simplest of terms, means what? There are some things in the Constitution which are beyond amendments. Yes, we can modify the Constitution, we can change things, of course, but can we change everything is a question. For example, can today India be made a dictatorship? Can today we say India is no longer democracy? India has a new king. Narendra Modi is a king. Rahul Gandhi is a king. Can we make all these statements? Of course not. We cannot. We cannot make certain changes because those elements, those aspects of our constitution are a part of basic structure, the most important elements. That's what's basic structure. When we study fundamental rights, we'll discuss in detail what is this basic structure. Okay. Now, second thing would be functions and responsibilities of the union and the states. Their issues, their challenges pertaining to federal structure. Now, what's the meaning of this federal structure? Federalism. Federal refers to a form or type of government which is characterized by a central government and a regional government, right? National government and the provincial government, union government, state government. That's the concept of federal, division of power between center and states. Federal. Division of power between center and states. So this is what is federalism. So we have to also understand about the federal structure. Devolution of powers, devolving, right? Providing for powers and finances money up to the local levels. What is local level? Tell me. Whenever you hear this word local level, it refers to the local self-government, which is what? Panchayats, municipalities. So that is what is local levels. And let me tell you, this topic is extremely important. Don't just go by the fact that there's a very vague kind of mention here. No. This particular topic is extremely important, and rest assured, you will get a question in the main examination from this topic, in all likelihood, right? So maybe in every 5 years, once a question may not be asked, which is again not possible. This topic will give you one question in the main examination, a very important topic, right? Okay. Then separation of powers between various organs. Separation of power between various organs. So we have the concept of LEJ. What is that? Legislature, executive, judiciary. LEJ. Then dispute redressal mechanism. How to resolve the disputes between LEJ and the corresponding institutions. Then the parliament, the state legislature. Then dispute redressal mechanism. How to resolve the dispute between LEJ and the corresponding institutions. Then the parliament, the state legislature. We have to study the structure, their functioning, conduct of business, their powers, the privileges, and of course any issue that arise out of these things. Clear? Now, then structure, organization, and functioning of the executive as well as judiciary. The details later on, or PILs, that is public interest litigation, etc. But again, an extremely important topic. Okay. Then Now, in our country, we all know that we have periodic elections, right? The government is temporary. It is subject to changes. Every 5 years, we can, if we want to, change the government, right? Change our elected representatives. So, to govern the process of elections, there is a law in the country, and that law is called RPA, the Representation of People's Act. So, there are two laws. One is RPA 1950. The other is RPA 1951. So, while we are studying elections, we'll also be looking at these two laws. Then, appointment to various constitutional posts. So, we'll be studying about some constitutional bodies like National Commission for Scheduled Castes, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, National Commission for Backward Classes, Election Commission of India, Finance Commission, etc. All these bodies will be covered. Then the powers, the functions, and responsibilities of various constitutional bodies, right? Then we'll study statutory, regulatory, and various quasi-judicial. What is quasi? Quasi means semi, partially judicial bodies, right? Partially judicial. So quasi-judicial refers to bodies which are somewhat like judicial, meaning they perform judicial functions, but may be allowed some leeway in the performance of those functions. So may be given more freedom from the typical rules of procedure, etc. A very good example is tribunals. So we'll be studying about all these topics. Now, there are some things that you will not be covering here, will be a part of governance. So let me just clarify here before you, in the middle of the class in future, say, what about this topic? Topics like most of the statutory bodies. Statutory bodies like, say, CVC, Lokpal, CIC, CVC, Lokpal, CIC, NHRC, NCW, etc. All such bodies, CBI, right? Executive body. We'll cover all these bodies under governance. It's a separate module, will be taught separately. Okay. Then some other topics like bodies like UPSC, SPSC, bodies like CAG, they will all be covered under governance module, not under polity. Are we clear? So we're covering these things under governance, which is a separate module, and we'll have separate classes allocated for this topic. This is going to be our syllabus for polity and constitution. Let me just summarize the syllabus once again, that what exactly is the expectation of UPSC. So first up, the expectation is to know the constitution. First thing, constitution. Of course, not all the articles, right? Select articles. At the end of every module, I will tell you which articles are important. You can refer to those articles on your own also. Let me just help you out with the syllabus and book list first, and I'll discuss what exactly is required. So don't worry, nothing to panic. Second thing, we also need to study some important statutes. What is a statute? Statute simply means law. If you want to use simple terms, say law. If you want to impress somebody, use statute. It's the exact same thing, right? Then we have, in the recent times especially, we have observed that Supreme Court judgments, Supreme Court directives, Supreme Court observations also become extremely important, right? Then sometimes some executive orders, executive notifications or orders can also become important. Executive refers to government. What you say is the government is actually the executive. Okay. Now, beyond this, one more thing. And what is that? That is conventions. What are conventions? Conventions are customary ways of doing things which have the same force as that of law. Conventions are basically customs in the country. Not everything is written in the rule books. Some things are just practiced, but they are practiced in with such rigidity that you will start feeling, is this a law or what? But it's not a law. It's not mentioned anywhere. The sincerity with which it is practiced makes us feel that, oh, it's as good as a law. For example, I hope you all are aware there is a person called governor. Yes or no? Governor. Now, governors are people in the state. There is a constitutional provision, Article 147. Details later on. Article 157, which talks about the qualification of governor. Who is eligible to become a governor? What's the criteria? Number one, age criteria. You have to be at least 35 years of age and you have to be a citizen of India. That's it. These two are the only criteria. No other criteria mentioned in the constitution. But if you observe governors of any state, you will always find that the governor never belongs to your state. You please search for the governor of your state. He or she will always be an outsider. Take an example of governor of Kerala, always in news, Arif Muhammad Khan. He belongs to UP. Governor of UP. Anandiben Patel belongs to Gujarat. Governor of Gujarat, Acharya Devrat belongs to Haryana. Governor of Haryana, B. Dattatre belongs to Telangana. You keep on doing this. You realize that the governor of every state is always an outsider. It's a convention. Go to Tamil Nadu. The governor of Tamil Nadu is Aryan Ravi, belongs to Bihar. Bihar, Fagu Chauhan belongs to UP. Go to Rajasthan, Kalad Mishra belongs to UP. The idea is that outsiders have always been made governors. Now, why is and hows later on? For example, the reason here is governors, if they're outsiders, they will never be involved in any kind of one-upmanship with the chief minister. They will be refraining from interfering in the local politics and will leave the CM to handle things on his or her own. So, to avoid excessive interference, outsiders are normally appointed. And this practice is so strictly followed that it has never been broken except once. Just once back in 1967, there was a governor called Venkat Vishwanath who belonged to Kerala, right? And he was made the governor of Kerala. Only known case, right? So this is with respect to the governors. And this is what is meant by conventions. Sometimes some conventions are important. As and when the time comes, I'll tell you what all these conventions are. Okay? So we're done with two important elements. Number one is the importance of polity. And number two is the syllabus. I would request you for the course of next few days, right? Please read the syllabus on your own so that you get a hang of what exactly is the expectation of UPSC, right? Now, third, and by and large, the most fascinating thing is the book list. What is that magical book list? If I could read and read only those 20 questions and vomit on the paper and clear the examination and become the IAS officer, why to study for 2 years? Now, that may not be the case, but I'll tell you, general book list. Now, these two are NCERT books of class 9th and class 10th. My advice is ignore these books. Don't study these books. These books are too basic in nature, extremely basic. If you have these books, right, sell it to somebody else. Clear? Please sell it to some young aspirant. Tell him or her, very good book, take it. But don't study. It is just going to be extremely basic and generic information, which may not really be of any help to you, right? Now, if there is any person who is in class 11th or 12th right now, right? But if you are already in 11th and 12th right now and you're preparing for UPSC, maybe you can give this book a read, maybe. But for people in graduation, please don't. So some of you may say, sir, but if it is not required, why is it mentioned here? It is mentioned here for me to mention that you should not read it. Okay? That's why NCERTs are not always important, and not all NCERTs are important. So misconceptions also need to be cleared. Are you clear? Okay. So this is not required. Okay, just one small point. I'll launch a poll. A for yes, B for no, or even better, A means school, B means graduation or college, post-graduation, and C means if you are a working professional. And one more, D means if you are a full-time aspirant. So I get to know what group I am dealing with. If you are in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, type A. If you are in graduation, college, type B, so on and so forth. Okay, don't write here. Here are the instructions. Calm down before typing things. Instructions are very important. Please have patience, right? So I am choosing anything. Mark your point, letter now. Okay, a lot of you are in graduation. Some of you are full-time aspirants. Then a lot of you are working professionals. A few in school also. It's okay. So if you are in class 11th, or let's simply write this, school students can read this book. Can read the books. Others, please don't read these books. Please. Next, two more NCERTs. These are NCERTs of class 11th. Okay, one of which is Indian Constitution at Work, and the other is Political Theory. Both are again NCERTs. Now, this NCERT is a must read. Everybody has to read this book. It's mandatory. Are we clear? This book is a must read. And over the course of this book has 10 chapters. So normally at the end of every class, I give some kind of, I would not say homework, but yes, I think that's what it is, homework. In case you do not follow a timetable and you find it difficult to keep up with studies, so I'll give you at least some task from my side. So the expectation is that Monday to Friday, 5 days, please read 5 chapters this week, 5 chapters next week. Then third week, revise the first 5. Next week, revise next 5, right? And the final week, please revise 2 chapters on one day to finish off 3 readings of the book while we discuss other things in the class. Are we clear on this? Everybody, this book is available online. You can simply download from the NCERT website. Don't wait for anything. When will this book come? Is it there in the market or not? Please. Excuses have to be avoided. Please download from NCERT website. You can download hundreds of videos, right? You can download reels, etc. You can download the book also. Possible. Oh, somebody says link of the book. As I said, you are so adept at downloading Instagram reels, sharing this and that, taking screenshots to prove others wrong. You can always find out. Google search, right? And download this. Clear? Anyway, second thing, Indian Constitution at Work, class 11th. Now, this book also has 10 chapters, but basically what we are going to do is we'll be studying this book only, but in much more detail. So actually the UPSC syllabus is this book only, but in way more detail. So Lakshmikant, the book I'll be referring later on, is this book only, in way more detail. So this book can be avoided, right? Can be read. This is completely optional. But if you are preparing for the exam in 2024 or 25, don't read this book. It is just going to waste your time. Clear? Please don't. But yes, if you are preparing for 2026, 27, 28, 29, etc., you can read this book. Though I will be teaching you things which are way beyond what is mentioned in the book. So this will not be required. We'll start from here only and go to very high level. But still, if somebody wants to read this book, please do. Clear? Okay. Now, beyond this, I hope the NCERT doubts have been cleared. Don't be obsessed whatever you have heard. Please read NCERTs from 6 to 12. There are no NCERTs only for polity from 6 to 12. What I have mentioned here are the only NCERTs. So please, what has been said should be sufficient as per my advice. Of course, you are free to do what you want with your life. Who is stopping you? Clear? Okay. Now, just to point this question out. This question came in the 2019 examination. In the last few years, you must have discussed or must have been reading that in our country, secularism has gone down the drain. The government is trying to play the religion card, etc. And all parties do the same thing, right? So it has had a negative impact. Minorities are suffering. All this is there, right? But the point is, in 2019, now the entire country, all media houses, everybody is discussing on how India is suffering, India is burning. But UPSC has asked an exactly opposite question. UPSC says, forget what is being told in the media. You please tell me, what can a country like France, France here refers to the West, what can a country like France learn from Indian constitution's approach to secularism? What can they learn from India? A very unique question. Now, for those who have not seen this, they may find it very challenging to attempt it. So, this question was directly taken from political theory. This book, NCERT class 11th, chapter 8. This question was directly taken from political theory. This book, NCERT class 11th, chapter 8, secularism. The entire content was taken from this chapter only. Only if you had read the chapter, you'd be able to comprehensively write your answer. Now, in this book, they talk about USA versus India. USA represents the Western model, which is same as that of France, right? So, this is not the reason at all, because the question was asked and model able to complete. This question was directly taken from political theory. This book, NCERT class 11th, chapter 8, secularism. The entire content was taken from this chapter only. Only if you had read the chapter, you'd be able to comprehensively write your answer. Now, in this book, they talk about USA versus India. USA represents the Western model, which is same as that of France, right? So, this is not the reason at all, because the question was asked. Let's now read NCERT. NCERT, this book is anyway very important. It is going to give you a lot of fodder material for the examination. So, please read this book. Clear? Okay. Now, of course, very important is Lakshmikant. Now, see, Lakshmikant is a great book for prelims. For mains, not so much. And as far as Lakshmikant is also concerned, selective reading is what I would recommend. So the first target should be, right? First target should be to read the class notes. You will have the PPTs, and I'm writing all these things on the PPTs. By the end of the class, you'll be able to download these PPTs. So mug up those things first. And for further clarification, if you want, please read Lakshmikant. I will refer to the chapters also, right? So any edition is okay. Now, if you have a third edition, I think it would be better to buy the new edition, right? That would be more appropriate. But if you have the sixth edition, there is absolutely no need to purchase the seventh edition. Are we clear? If there's some new chapters added, you can take a print out of that. No need to purchase the new edition. Please don't waste money like this. Okay. So I'll be referring to the chapters from the sixth edition of this book. In case you want to, please read those chapters. There is no compulsion, frankly. Now, every civil servant, in fact, every citizen of this country should know, or at least should keep a copy of the Indian Constitution. So there are various publications like Professionals, we have the Universal, and this as well, right? So various publications are there, PM Bakshi, etc. You can purchase any Constitution of India book of any publication. Okay, any publication. It is of no relevance which publication. The content is the same. Now, some of you may say, no, sir, I don't want to purchase enough. I have no money to purchase books. I only have money to drink and eat and make merry, but no money for books. No problem. You have internet, right? So what you can do is at least download the PDF of the Constitution. Google search Constitution of India PDF. You will get the website. The domain name will be legislative.gov.in. On this particular link, you will find copy of the Indian Constitution in multiple languages. Download in any language you want. Any language you want. And keep the notebook or keep the PDF. You can take a print out of it. You can keep it in the soft form, but keep it. Why I'm telling you is because at the end of every module, I'll be telling you the important articles, and I would want you to please go through those articles on your own. Okay, you would know the content, so it's better to read the article also. It will help you develop the legal language that will help you a lot in writing answers in the examination. Clear? Okay. So this is going to be the book list. I hope things are clear so far. No doubts as far as the things I have explained so far. Right? Now, moving on. One very important thing. If you observe, in that previous UPSC prelims examination, a question was asked with reference to Gucci, sometimes mentioned in the news. Consider the following statements. It is a fungus. It grows in some Himalayan forest areas, etc. Look at this Instagram handle. The rarest and the yummiest Gucci mushrooms, most expensive mushrooms, are only found in Himalayas. It seems like the paper setter was following this channel or this handle and set the paper questions. So the point is, should we start following Instagram also now? Now that is something that you have to decide. I will not make any statement whether you should follow or should not follow. Okay. Clear? Anyway. So coming to summarizing everything, the final book list or the reference. See, when it comes to what is the book list now, this is what I'm mentioning here, and I think this should suffice. So please, after every 2 days, rather than studying and revising, don't waste time in asking, sir, what is the book list? Please. These are all tactics used by students who have no interest in studying. Trust me. I have seen way more questions like these than you have devoted time to studying. So it's okay. Rather than wasting time here, please put down your effort on the books and study. Okay. So this is going to be the Insta page names. Hey guys, excuse me. This was just a joke. Somebody saying, please, what is this Insta ID? I have to follow it. Don't follow this Insta ID. Are we clear? I got a minor heart attack hearing all these things. Guys, please, it was meant to be a joke. Somebody is wanting to follow the Instagram ID to get questions on UPSC. No. UPSC will not ask questions from this Instagram ID. Okay. Just calm down. Now, so the final book list. Number 1, the class PPTs, the class notes with the annotations, what I write on the notes. Number 2, the copy of Constitution of India, PDF or book, whatever you feel like, it's okay, does not matter. Number 3, the NCERT book, Political Theory. Number 4, Lakshmikant, selective reading. I will tell you which chapters are important as and when the time comes. Don't tell me right now only, it's okay, don't worry. As when the time comes, we'll get the relevant chapters. And lastly, what is extremely important, especially for paper 2, is current affairs. Okay, current affairs. Now for current affairs, I'm sure you know this thing that comes in your house daily, newspaper. Have you ever heard of this thing called newspaper, right? So newspaper, either the Hindu or Indian Express, anything is okay. Though I would prefer the Indian Express, that you read Indian Express, but it's okay, you can read any newspaper, the Hindu or Indian Express. Don't read other newspaper, don't read both also. Okay, just pick and choose one. Clear? It's either or, not both. Don't read Times of India, etc. Yes, those are amazing newspapers, fun newspapers. Eat tomatoes, grow your height, who's running away with whose spouse. Very nice, interesting news, but not meant for examination. Now, second thing, please follow the monthly magazine. So on the Byju's website, you have the monthly magazine, right? Please download it and read the monthly magazine on a daily basis. So the idea, I tell you a simple technique to read the monthly magazine. Do one thing from, not today, of course, the day is over. Tomorrow onwards, 1 hour every day. That's it. Nothing else. 1 hour every day. Devote it to reading the monthly magazine. Any time of the day. Pick and choose that. That from 6 to 7 in the morning, 12 to 1 in the afternoon. But that time should be strictly devoted to reading the monthly magazine. How many pages? Ideally, we should try to read at least 10, 12 pages. But if you read 4 pages also, no problem. But be sincere. So that hour has to be very precious. Should always be devoted to the monthly magazine only. Come what may in your life. You're feeling sad. You had a breakup. It's okay. Read the magazine, then start crying. No problem. You're out on a date. Tell your date, please wait right now. Go back home, read the magazine, then come back on the date. That's how important that particular time is going to be for you. Are we clear? Please don't skip on this. And then the third thing, Yojana and Kurukshetra. These two are magazines. You have to read these magazines, but not the entire magazine, just the gist, the summary of the magazine. That's it. Clear? What you can do, very simple. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 hour Yojana. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 1 hour Kurukshetra. You'll get the gist also on the Byju's website. Clear? The compilation of the Yojana or Kurukshetra. I hope this point is clear. Now, one point. For people, what monthly magazine to read? If appearing in 2024, then January 23 to April 24. Are we clear? Follow this pattern only. Clear? So, if appearing in 2025, then January 24 to April 25. Okay. This is for your monthly magazine. Monthly magazine. So, people who are appearing in 2026, 27, 28, 29, don't read the monthly magazine. I mean, you can simply go through it if you want to. There is no need to mug up everything. Clear? You can focus on reading the newspaper. Don't read the monthly magazine. I mean, you can simply go through it if you want to. There is no need to mug up everything. Clear? You can focus on reading the newspaper. That's what you should focus on. Just casual reading of the newspaper. Nothing beyond that. But when you're preparing for the next year, you have to read the monthly magazine. But Yojana and Kurukshetra has to be read by everybody. Whether you're appearing next year or in 2040, we don't care. These two must be read by everybody. Are we clear? The gist or summary of Yojana will be available on again Byju's website. You can get it from there. Okay. Now one more thing. When it comes to newspaper, now some people who are reading the monthly magazine, they may say, sir, if I'm already reading the monthly magazine, what's the point of reading the newspaper? So yes, you may skip the newspaper, but even then, in the newspaper, read at least the editorial. This has to be read. So in the newspaper, some of the pages in between, you have to see and read the editorials on your own. Are they clear? This must be done by everybody, whether you are appearing next year or 25 or 26, does not matter. I hope now things are clear. Now some of you may say, sir, what is this editorials? So for that, innocent aspirants, you have to take a newspaper first and go to the middle pages. You'll find various articles and not news items. Those articles are called editorials. Okay. So not everything can be shown like this. Sometimes you have to take the effort also yourself, right? This is by far too much of spoon feeding. But when the spoon comes to your mouth, you have to open your mouth. So taking that newspaper is like opening your mouth and chewing the food. Okay. So this is it. Now there are other such books, some very nice books. Books like D.D. Basu, books like Subhash Kashyap. These are great books, very nice books. If you have these books, please sell them immediately to somebody else. Right? Any newcomer, new aspirant, tell them, come here, take this book, magical book, sell it. Don't read these books. These books are very nice but have lost their purpose or relevance for UPSC. The amount of effort required to read these books for your examination and derive benefit, the cost benefit is very poor. Clear? You'll have plenty of resource material available here. These things are sufficient. If you are able to follow this and retain this much only, that will be way more than what is required for the examination, right? So having these books, yes, you can keep these books in your house, take a selfie from time to time and post on Instagram to confuse everybody that you are reading all these books. But please don't follow all these books. Not required now. Outdated. Okay. Beyond that, what else is required? We have to solve the PYQs. Plus, PYQ. What is PYQs? Previous year questions. Previous year questions, both for prelims and the mains. So as far as these questions are concerned, I will be incorporating those questions in the classes only. As and when the time comes, the topic comes, I have in the class PPTs those PYQs. For prelims for now, this week on Friday, if everything is okay, you are alive, I am alive, which we are likely to be, I will take the answer writing session, 1 hour or maybe around 45 minutes towards the end. I will be discussing answer writing just this Friday. So please don't panic. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no discussion on mains. On Friday, I will tell you about answer writing, some tips and techniques from my side. Of course, you are experts. Some of you, of course, are experts writing answers with half-baked complete knowledge. So, but you would not need any help, or others, some kind of help. And once we are done with this session of answer writing, this coming Friday, then from the next Monday onwards, we will have the mains questions also, along with the topics we teach in the class. Clear? But anyway, we already have the recordings of all these mains questions, the PYQs in the tablet. I think I have recorded those things. You can watch those videos as well. But anyway, more on answer writing on Friday. Till then, please don't worry. Focus on what is being taught in the class. Now, apart from it, solve the mock tests, the class tests that you have. Please solve them. Don't skip tests. That next time, there is no next. Second thing, and which is more important, is every day starting tomorrow, you will have, I will incorporate 5 questions for the day, right, from the previously taught topics. So tomorrow, the class will begin at 5 only, but we will start with those 5 MCQs. I'll display the MCQs, I'll launch the poll, and you have to mark the answer. That's how every day will begin for the next 23 days. Clear? Now, of course, in the offline classes, I take a class test, I give chocolates to the person who gets the highest score. But here, since we're not face to face, no chocolates, no GPay, no phone pay, sorry. But yes, if you ever top, keep a screenshot of that. If you meet in the future, you can always claim a chocolate from me. Okay, don't worry. The test will be from the topics that were taught till yesterday. Clear? Okay. So that's it. And beyond this, what is most important is revision. I think every faculty will tell you the same thing, that it is more important to read the same source multiple times than reading multiple sources once only, right? So just like the dialogue in Chandni Chowk to China, the idea is that revision is the key to clearing the examination. I mean, I'm wasting 2-3 minutes here saying the same thing, but please understand that revision is of utmost importance. Revise these annotations 4 to 5 times before taking the next class. Clear? Everybody? Now, apart from this, one more thing, information. 2 pieces of information. Number 1, I think you had the previous classes which were conducted. I'm not sure which topic that was. So you'll get a feedback form. Please fill the feedback form. But secondly, right, the classes that we have, the live classes, the recordings of those classes are available for 7 days. Live class recordings. Now, this does not mean that you don't attend the live class. Are we clear? Do you understand this? The class is live class only. Please don't skip. I will see the videos again later on. In your school days, in your coaching institute, in your IT, medical, etc., did you have this option? No, right? You have to go and attend the class, right? So the advantage is that you're sitting in your house and attending the class. Now, don't just be too lethargic to not attend those classes. In fact, 7 days is too much of time. That should not be there, frankly. It just inculcates lethargy. That for 7 days the video is available. But please attend those classes live only, get it out resolved, and finish off the topic as and when required. Don't wait. Those golden. It's like, we start by reading newspaper. 2-3 days we follow it. On 4th day getting bored. Okay, I'll read it tomorrow. And that tomorrow never comes. The newspaper keeps on getting piled up, and you'll never read it. So please don't make a mockery of the money you have put in and the time you are putting in. Okay, please follow things diligently. I hope everything is clear now. Every doubt is clear. Okay. Now, one more thing. Notes. What to do? How to make notes? Don't make any notes. I'm already writing all this for you. Please don't make new notes in blue, black, green, red. Grow up. You are not a class 5 student now. Okay. We are already writing everything. Okay. So the point here is, take all this information. If you want, take a printout of it. And yes, if somebody wants, you can take the PPT printout and start writing along with me in the class to keep yourself alert. That's possible. Take running notes. But don't create separate unique notes from various sources. It is not required. Don't reinvent the wheel. You will simply be wasting time. Okay. These are notes for you. If somebody has a problem, then they can take a printout, or reading online, then they can take a printout and then study. But no, I would tell you, for polity, don't. Other subjects, those faculty will tell you what to do. Clear? Yes, running notes again. These things can be done by you. Okay, let's see what issues, doubts do we have here. Shlok, the live class recordings will be available on the portal. You can see them for the next 7 days. No PPT annotations will continue to be there. Sandeep, then how will you revise? When a class happens in your school days, how do you revise? From notes. That's why I say, if you watch a class for revision, you're wasting 3.5 hours to revise. That revision can be done in around 30 minutes. Please understand this point. Time is crucial. Bhuvnesh, then write in your handwriting the same things. No problem. Cook, we already have the monthly magazine. There's a team which makes these monthly magazines. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's okay. Political science is different from polity. Polity is a part of GS paper 2. Political science and IR is a separate optional subject. Anjali, yesterday you asked what book list I told you yesterday. What is this? I don't understand. What's the question? For beginners, G's only 5-6 pages also are sufficient. Sandeep, I am saying For polity, for a subject I am teaching, there is no special need to make notes. If this statement is not clear, I'm not sure what statement will be clear. Yashwant, how do I create new NCERT for class 12 if it is not there? It is not there only for polity. If anybody wants to make their own notes, my advice would be take a printout of this PPT in the white background and write along with me in the class. That would be better. That would make the notes in your own handwriting also. Or better, write these PPTs only in your paper, the points, and then attend the class. That's also possible. Write down the PPT information in your notebook. That can also be done. Right? All these things can be done. Yes, Bhuvnesh, absolutely correct. For all those who are saying, should class 12 NCERT be studied or not? Did you even see what is the class 12 NCERT? Class 12 NCERT is not for polity. Why would I refer that? Understand it, please. Okay, I think the doubts have been Pavitra. Yes, in the weekend also I'm teaching polity. In this class also I'm teaching polity. The constitution is the same. UPSC syllabus is the same. How can I teach different things here? Same thing only. Break every day will be at around 6:45. One break of 10-15 minutes. Are you clear? Now, see, some of you are saying that my question is not being addressed. If you ask me a question that is it necessary to make notes of BD Basu, then should I address that question? I've already told don't read these books, and then asking me should I make notes from these books? Come on. I thought I'm dealing with mature audience here, or maybe I was mistaken. If this is also something that you cannot comprehend, I'm not really sure how to further simplify it. Now, I think we should simply skip on our irrelevant topics here and get down to understanding the basic information. I hope what I've explained is sufficient. No doubts. Ashay, what is your doubt? Let's see. Yes, Chandrasekhar, sufficient. Is Yojana and Kurukshetra available in app? No, Ashay. Yojana Kurukshetra on the Byju's website, or just go on the website. How difficult it is to go on the website and get this information. Google search Yojana just Byju's. You'll get a link there. No problem. There is no need to prepare for prelims. We never prepare for prelims. We only prepare for main examination. That I'll discuss towards the end of the class. Why do we need to write newspaper content in exam? That's why is it important. Madam, why do we need to write newspaper content in the mains examination? That's why is it important. Maybe your question is that is newspaper reading important? We don't have to write newspaper content. Reading editorials is important to improve answers. That's something I discuss when I discuss answer writing this Friday. Okay, great. Mayank Badwani, was Gucci much? Sir, yes, it was in news, of course. Abhishek, read Yojana Kurukshetra from this month only. Okay. No, Pavitra, there is no need to read to make those notes again. Mayank Badwani, it is not required. Let us just firstly begin the class and see whether you need to know the basics or not. Okay. Now I think let's begin our discussion. Okay. Great. So see, that's what I tell you. Despite telling you all these things, eventually it will all boil down to these things happening. Let's hope this does not happen and we focus on what is relevant. Don't worry if anybody's doubt has not been taken care of. It will be responded to in due time. A bit of patience is required. Please, I would request everybody to maintain decency in the comment section, right? You are a student, I'm a faculty. Remember the teacher-student relationship, the respect. Understand it, right? Don't act like a customer. You are not a customer. You are a sincere aspirant and a student. Please be the student that you should be to clear the examination. That is the only advice I can give you to succeed in this examination. Don't behave like a customer. Be the student that you should be. Okay? Great. Now, let's begin some very basic generic information. Right? I'll discuss some terms that most of you wouldn't be knowing, I'm sure, but some of us who have no idea would also be acquainted with these terms. So firstly, these topics and terms, and then we'll discuss the topics at hand in the syllabus. First up, this rule book that we keep on calling Constitution of India. So there's this book called the Constitution. Just like any other book, this book is also divided into various parts. Like in your books, part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 contains something else, part 2 contains some other topic. This Constitution is also divided into various parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. Originally, this constitution was divided into 22 parts, 22 headings. But currently, it is divided into 25 parts. Okay. For example, look at this. This is a small snippet from the constitution, a screenshot. So this is part 5. What is part 5? Union. Okay. So part 1 deals with the union and states. Part 2 deals with citizenship. Part 3 deals with rights. Part 4 deals with DPSP. Part 4A deals with duties. Part 5 deals with union. Now, under all these parts, just like our books, we have chapters. Every part may or may not be divided into chapters. So sometimes chapters may be there, some parts may not have chapters. For example, part 5 has some chapters, 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is about the executive. Chapter 2 is about the legislature. Chapter 3 is about ordinances. Chapter 4 is about Supreme Court. Chapter 5 is about CAG. Chapters are not important, right? Parts you should remember, but chapters not really. Now, in those chapters, the provisions that you see, right? Those provisions are actually called articles. The provisions of the Constitution. This is what is called an article. Numbers, right? So this is Article 52. This is Article 53. Some articles will be important. It would be an expectation that you should know those articles. Okay. Originally, this rule book used to have 395 articles. Now this book has around 470 articles. Of course, you need not know all these articles. Don't worry at all. As and when the time comes, I will tell you which article is important, which article is not important. Clear? Now, like when you write your answers, you sometimes write subpoints in your answer. Point, subpoint, same thing. Every article, or some articles at least, also have subpoints, like here, subpoint 1, subpoint 2. These things are called clauses. So inside the article, you have a clause. Now, every clause is not important, and also every article may not have a clause. For example, Article 52. Article 52 says the President of India. There shall be a President of India. That's it. No clause, no subpoint, nothing. But Article 53 has two clauses. Article 53 clause 1, Article 53 clause 2. Clear? Clause 1, clause 2. So sometimes you may have clauses, you may not have clauses. And inside a clause, if you have subpoint, that makes it a subclause, clauses and subclauses. And finally, towards the end of the Constitution, last few pages, you will find just like references, in your books and all, towards the end, they have this reference, right? Glossary of terms, all these things. So in the Constitution also, towards the end, you have all these references, these postscript, footnotes kind of thing. They are called schedules. Originally, we had 8 schedules. Now we have 10 schedules. Again, as and when the time comes, we'll discuss each of these schedules and what do these schedules contain one by one. Now, one more thing. Oh, sorry, my bad. We have, 12 schedules. Not 10, 12 schedules. So now, one more thing. This Constitution also needs to be amended. It can be modified, it can be amended. So how can the Constitution be modified? So the procedure, etc., to be discussed later on. But since this book has been modified 105 times, amendments in the Constitution need to be referred with a number. So how do you refer it? Amendment. We refer to the number of times and then write Amendment Act and then mention the year in which the amendment was made. For example, if I say this means what? 42nd Amendment Act 1976. The Constitution was amended for the 42nd time in the year 1976. Clear? This is how we have the representation of amendments. Clear? If I write like this, what is the meaning of this? Please say with me wherever you are. First Amendment Act 1951, meaning the Constitution was amended for the first time in 1951. Clear? Everybody? No doubts here? Okay. Now, this is the main rule book, the fundamental law of the land. Now, which article or which part has been amended? For that, we have to see what changes were made. This amendment will not just tell you which part. So we have to see under this amendment which article, which part, etc. were modified. That you will get to know under this amendment. Clear? Now, this is the Constitution, but there are so many laws in the country: IPC, CRPC, Citizenship Act, RPA. So many laws in the country. How are laws denoted? Statute or law? It's the same thing. Law or statute is a synonym. Clear? Synonym. Paryayavachi. Now, all articles required to learn. Achal, I have very clearly said, I think, that I will tell you which articles are important. So please don't worry. Right? Just pay attention in the class. Which articles are important? I'll tell you. Don't worry. Okay? Now, statute or law. So just to tell some of you who may not know this, these laws are made by the legislature in the country. The people chosen by us, called MPs, MLAs, etc. Details later. When they want to make a law, they bring a proposal, an idea. We call that a bill. What is a bill? Bill is just a proposal. Clear? Now, all the people in the parliament, they will pass this bill. They'll approve it. Yes, yes, very good. Nice. Yes, approved. So they will pass the bill. Once the bill is passed, it becomes an act. Are you clear? Act. Now, act is not applicable on the people. Let me remind you. Act is not applicable on people. Firstly, this act that you have passed must be published somewhere for people to read. So this act is notified or published. Then this act becomes a law. Clear? Now, where is this act published? Just like Byju's has a monthly magazine, right? Hindu newspaper comes every day, etc. Frontline comes every 15 days, etc. Whatever. Similarly, the government's magazine, which is published every week, is called the Gazette of India. This is the magazine of the government. This is published weekly. Okay, every week the magazine is published, and these notifications are released in this gazette only, right? And for that, we also have a website called egazette.gov.in. The domain name has been modified now. Now that is called egazette.gov.in. So online as well. E-Gazette. Clear? This is online facility is updated daily. Updated daily. So whenever any kind of change is made, any kind of change, that change has to be published in this magazine. This magazine is the government's magazine. It contains a lot of things. See, every day government activities are going on. Every day. So all that is published in the Gazette. Now, you may say, sir, what if nothing is done? then it will not be published. Simple. If no task is done in that entire week, then nothing will be done. But that is impossible. How can no task be done in the country? So that is why it is very unlikely. But yes, if no task is done, no magazine. Please don't read this magazine. Are you clear? Somebody saying should read the magazine also. Guys, this is not meant for you. Okay? If you go to e-gazette, you will find out that most information is based on what? Most information that is there on e-gazette is basically on things like, which tender, which contract was given to which person. That is what the most of these magazines are all about. The publication is all about. It is not about UPSC and all. Clear? Okay. Every week new act is published. No, how will a new act be published? If something happens, it will be published. If nothing happens, nothing is published. Clear? No doubt? Okay. Everybody? Great. These laws are different from the constitution. Constitution is a main law in the country. These are other laws. These laws are not mentioned in the constitution. Don't feel that if you make a law, we add that law in the constitution only. Are we clear? That is not added. Ordinances, they are also published here. Everything is published here. Okay. Now, next is types of bodies. What are the various types of bodies in the country? So we have primarily three types of bodies in the country. Number one, constitutional bodies. What are these bodies? Constitutional bodies are those bodies which are mentioned in the constitution. So these bodies are mentioned in the we will use in the class this as the symbol for constitution for the class only. Please don't think that we'll be using this in the examination. Just for the class to save our time. Are you clear? Mentioned in the constitution. So bodies like Election Commission of India, this is mentioned under all these will have some kind of article. Article 324, UPSC, Article 315, Finance Commission, Article 280, NCSC, Article 338, NCST, Article 338 capital A, NCBC 338 capital B. All these are constitutional body. Okay, constitutional because they are mentioned in the constitution. Then we have some statutory bodies. What is statutory? Legal bodies. Statutory means legal. So what are statutory bodies? Statutory bodies are bodies which are created by the what? Legislature. Legislature creates these bodies. A law is made. A proposal was brought. It was passed. It became an act. It was published. It became a law. Statute. Right? So, for example, Lokpal. This is a law made in the year 2013. CVC, the Central Vigilance Commission, a law made in the year 2005. CIC, that is a Central Information Commission, a law made in the year CVC made in the year 2003. CIC made in the year 2005. Right? CIC is basically a body which is formed under law called RTI Act, Right to Information Act. Then NHRC. What is NHRC? National Human Rights Commission. This was formed in the year 1993. Then NCW, the National Commission for Women. Recently news for all the wrong reasons. 1992. NCM, the National Commission for Women, Minorities, Women, Minorities, 1992. So you can see here that these are bodies which are not mentioned in the constitution. You cannot find Lokpal mentioned in the constitution. These are bodies created by legislature. I have given all these things, right, just for you to understand. No need to mug up all these things. It's okay. As and when the time comes, you will automatically mug up all these things without any special effort needed. Okay. So Lokayukt is also a statutory body because the law which was passed to form Lokpal, the full name of the law is called Lokpal and Lokayukt Act of 2013. So Lokayukt is also a statutory body. And finally, executive bodies. Who is this person? The Prime Minister. So executive bodies, government, executive. So executive bodies are bodies created by the government order. Created by government order. So no need to bring a law, bring a proposal, not required. The government sitting in its office can simply create a body. That body is called an executive body. So here, for example, you have Niti Aayog, a body formed in 2015, Niti Aayog. Ministries in our country, Home Ministry, Finance Ministry, all these are executive bodies. Tomorrow, if the government wants, it can very easily create a new ministry, temple ministry. It can be created. No need to bring any proposal in the parliament. Not required at all. Right? Then NDC, the National Development Council, a very old body in 1950, in 1952. Or CBI. What is CBI? Central Bureau of Investigation. Remember this body used by center to harass the state. I mean, used by center to investigate against various people. CBI. So this is 1963. Are we clear on this? Everybody? Okay. Very simple. Don't overcomplicate these things. Right? Very simple, very basic. Don't worry, sir. What is 315? It's okay. We'll discuss when the time comes. All these things. That's it. Constitutional, statutory, and executive. These are the bodies that we need to know. Now, solve a question which came in 2023. This year only. Let's see how many of you get this right. So I'll give you a minute, or rather 45 seconds, to mark the answer. Okay, a lot of you have marked the answer and the correct answer. So actually, Consider the following organizations or bodies in India. How many of the above are constitutional bodies? NCBC is actually a constitutional body. NHRC is a statutory body. Law Commission is an executive body. And the NCDRC, the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, it is also a statutory body formed under the Consumer Rights Act, or Consumer Protection Act, 1986. All these three are statutory or executive bodies. Only one of them is a constitutional body. Clear? So only one. At least this is something you must have known. We have mentioned here only in the previous slide. NHRC. Can you see this? Human Rights Commission is a statutory body, right? Commission for that NHRC is not a constitutional body. Don't worry, it's okay, right? Next, we have three organs of the state. So state has three organs. Number one is the legislature. So what is the task of legislature? If I ask you, legislature, what does it do? Legislature's task is to make laws. Laws are made by the legislature. That's their task. Clear? Very simple. Laws are made by legislature. But you know, our MPs, our politicians are very innocent people. They make laws, but they can't understand those laws. So to help us understand those laws, we have judiciary. The task of judiciary, this is Supreme Court. The task of judiciary is to do what? Interpret the laws. Make us understand the laws. Okay? What do these laws mean exactly? What is the real meaning of the laws made by innocent MPs? That's the task of the judiciary. Are we clear, everybody? So judiciary's task is to what? Interpret the laws. Okay, just solve a quick question asked in 2015. Let's see how many of you get this right. Easy question, 30 seconds only. I think this should be sufficient. Great, lot of your mark is correct. Absolutely correct. Right answer is D, Supreme Court of India. Who or which of the following is the custodian, caretaker? Custodian plus guardian. The caretaker, the protector of the Constitution. It is the Supreme Court of India. Also the final interpreter of the Constitution. Okay, so this is with respect to the second organ, judiciary. What's the third organ? Third organ is the executive. Now, what's the task of executive? Now, you would say that, sir, executive task is very simple. The task of executive is to implement the laws. Yes, of course, but not that simple. Executive refers to government. Okay, government. Now, please tell me, in our country, who is determining the policies? The government only. Determining policies, government. Executive. Who is executing, or in your words, who is implementing the policies? Executive only. Who is initiating proposals in the house? Executive only. Who takes care of the maintenance of law and order? Maintaining law and order. Executive only. Who is promoting economic and social welfare? Promoting economic and social welfare. Executive only. Who is deciding, directing foreign policy? Directing foreign policy. Executive only. All these tasks are being performed by the executive, right? So from now onwards, don't say that executive task is just to implement laws. No, the government is the most powerful organ in the country and has been given the task to practically perform every function in the country. In fact, Supreme Court has said in one case that residual of functions or governmental functions, we can write residual of functions that remain in the country, right, after legislative and judicial functions are taken away. They are all called what? Executive functions. Clear? So what the Supreme Court said was, you please take away legislative functions, you please take away judicial functions. Take away these two functions of making laws and interpreting laws. Everything that remains in the country is all government's function only. Right? This is what Supreme Court said in the Ram Jawaya Kapoor case. Supreme Court in Ram Jawaya Kapoor case of 1955. Clear? Okay, so that is with respect to the three organs. Let's do one thing now. Let's take a break. After the break, we'll come back and just like we have discussed the separation of powers, three organs, we'll now discuss the division of power between the center and the states. Let's take a break. Be back at 7:05. Break, please. that there are some things, some topics on which center has whole and sole power, complete authority. States have not. The division of power. So far, the separation of power, now division of power. So, if I ask you a simple question here, what do you think, or who do you think is the authority to decide foreign policies? Does Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, UP, Maharashtra, do all these states have their own foreign policy? Or do we have one common foreign policy? Common, right? Which is decided by the center. Who controls the armed forces? Center or states? Tell me. Center. So, can you just now observe here that there are some things, some topics on which center has whole and sole power, complete authority. States have not been given any say. Currency, for example. Then there are some topics where both center and states can make laws. Technical education, IPC, CRPC, right? Personal laws, all such things. Then sometimes there are some topics which are difficult for the center to manage, like police, public order. Those topics are given to the states. Now here, it's very easy to understand for us. Generally, that okay, armed forces is for the center and public order and police is for the states. But what if some states start fighting, saying, where is it mentioned? How can you say that we cannot control armed forces? We also can control armed forces. So to ensure that there is no problem, right? There is very clear-cut demarcation, clear-cut division of power between the center and the states from the word space, from the word domain, area, spatial distribution. Some area meant for center, some area meant for states, some area meant for both. So Article 246 says that there are some topics on which center has exclusive power. Exclusive, meaning no other authority. States have no power over these topics. These topics are referred to as union list. But where do I find these topics? Topics like foreign policy, topics like armed forces, right? Topics like currency. Where do I find these topics? So for that, Article 246 says, if you want to know those topics where they are mentioned, please refer to Schedule 7, seventh schedule of the Indian Constitution. So at the back, Schedule 1, Schedule 2, 3, 4, 7. Schedule number 7, list number 7 has all these topics. So Schedule 7 contains lists. 3 lists are there. One is the, of course, union list. This union list contains not 1, 2, 3, 4 items. It contains 98 topics. You don't have to mug up these topics. Don't worry. It contains 98 topics, or we call them entries, on which only center can make laws. Clear? Then we have a concurrent list. Look at this concurrent list. This is the list. This is the list over which both center and states can make laws. Things like education, forests, population control, family planning, all these areas. But now, if there is any list where both center and states can make laws, what if there's a conflict? What if center tries to make a different law and states try to make a different law? So in case there is any conflict, central law is what prevails. Parliament, center has overriding power. Are we clear? That list is called concurrent list. This list has 52 such topics or 52 entries. And in case there is any conflict between a central and a state law on a concurrent list subject, then the central law prevails. Clear? And then there is also a list called state list. Normally, under normal circumstances, the state has the power to make laws on state list subjects. Normally. So this is a state list which comprises of 59 entries or topics. Are we clear, everybody? Overriding powers means in case of conflict, central law prevails. Now is it clear? In case both center and states make a law on a topic like education, and central law is different, state law is different, then central law is held to be valid, state law is cancelled. Are we clear now? Chaman? Everything now? Okay. Now what is the problem? So suppose if any concurrent list topic decided by center is inappropriate, the Supreme Court can always interfere. That's there. Okay. Rifa, what is the problem? Don't make these blanket statements. Give me exact problem. Exact problem. What is the problem? See, I repeat once again for all of you to understand. There are some topics. I hope you understand this point that there are a lot of topics in our country on which laws can be made, right? Topics like family planning, forests, education, etc. Right? Armed forces. On some topics, center can make laws. If you want to know the topics, please go to 7th schedule. You'll find all those topics. That is called union list. On some topics, states can make laws. Normally, you want to know those topics, please go to schedule 7. It has a list called list 2. All topics mentioned there. If you want to know, now there are some topics where both center and states can make laws. Both of them. But what if there is a conflict? Imagine in your family, if a situation comes that your father wants to purchase a sofa, you also want to purchase a sofa, but your father's design selection is different from your design selection. This means both of you are purchasing the same thing, but the design selection is different. Then whose design or whose final choice will prevail? Please let me know. Father, of course, right? If you act over smart, one tight slap and then you'll fall on the ground immediately. So father's choice. So in this same case, right? If the center tries to make laws on a topic and the states try to make law on a topic which is in the concurrent list and a conflict is there, then whose law prevails? Central law prevails. Are you clear now? Everybody? Great. This is what is the three lists. Now one more thing. See, these lists were made in 1950, but over a period of time, so many new topics have come up. Now our makers of this constitution did not think of cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, all such things. They had no idea. What if there is any topic that is not mentioned in any list? It's possible, right? So Article 248. This article says that if by chance there is any topic over which, or the topic which is not mentioned in any list, on that topic, center can only make laws. States cannot make laws. If a topic is not mentioned in any list, then what happens? Only center can make laws. Those topics are known as residuary topics, and this power is called the residuary power. Article 248. Clear on this? Everybody okay? Great. Now one more thing. Since we are discussing these basic things, let me just also introduce to you some basic terms. Executive. So I've been saying again and again that executive means government, but executive can be of two kinds. Just to clarify, one is known as political executive. Okay, political executive meaning the five categories. At the top we have the president. Below the president we have the vice president. Below the VP we have the PM, prime minister, and to support the prime minister we have council of ministers. And along with the council of ministers, we also have one more person. That person, some of you may not have heard of his name, is called Attorney General of India. Attorney General. This person is government's lawyer. These five people together form what we know as the union executive. Are you clear? Executive at the central level. At the state level, the senior most person is what? Is the governor. Below the governor, we have vice governor. Yes or no? Vice governor. Some of you are saying yes. There is no vice governor. Below the governor, we have CM, the chief minister. Then we have COM, council of ministers. And then just like the attorney general at the central level, at the state level, we have advocate general. These are part of the state executive. Clear? Now, who are these people? How are they chosen? How are they removed? What are their functions? We'll discuss as and when the time comes. Okay? Are we clear on this? So there is no need to discuss all these things right now. Clear? Now, the second type of executive are people like you. The permanent executive. Permanent executive. These people are the civil servants. So if you study well, then you'll be a part of the permanent executive. Clear? So all the group A, B, C, D officers and officials, permanent executive. Clear? Basic information. So this is with respect to executive. Now, legislatures. So legislature, the law making body at the central level, at the state level. So at the executive. Clear? Basic information. So this is with respect to executive. Now, legislatures. So legislature, the law making body at the central level, at the state level. So at the central level, the legislature is what? The legislature comprises of two houses. So you must have heard of this. One such house is known as House of People. You also refer to this house as the Lok Sabha. Second house is the Council of States, which is also referred to as the Rajya Sabha. In both these houses, we have members, people, politicians who are known as MPs. Who are MPs? Members of Parliament. Okay, politicians. Now, as far as the states are concerned, in the states, in all the states, we have a house called Legislative Assembly. Legislative Assembly, also called the Vidhan Sabha. And then we have in some states, not all, only in 6 states, we have a house called Legislative Council, Vidhan Parishad. Okay. Now, which 6 states have these councils? Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Telangana, and UP. These are the 6 states which have councils. Now you may say, sir, why only these 6 states? Reasons later on. Just brief introduction on these topics. Clear? Now, people who are sitting in these houses, people sitting in this house, they are called MLA, members of Legislative Assembly. People sitting in this house, MLCs, members of Legislative Council. Are you clear? Everybody? Legislatures. Now, just to help you understand the point of difference, so that you have no confusion, MLA and MP, what's the difference? See, now just to help MLCs. Members of Legislative Council. Are you clear? Everybody? Legislatures. Now, just to help you understand the point of difference, so that you have no confusion, MLA and MP, what's the difference? See, this is the state of Karnataka. For those who have no idea of the country, this is the state of Karnataka. The entire state of Karnataka is divided into small parts. Can you see the division? So, this is one part. This one small part is called constituency. Constituency. Okay. All the people of this area, all the people of this area, all the people of this area, they will vote, right? And choose. People vote to choose MP in the Lok Sabha. Here, MP, MP. The same state is divided into even smaller constituencies. Look at this. This was one Lok Sabha constituency. This is one Vidhan Sabha constituency. Into smaller constituencies, and all the people of this area will vote and choose one MLA. So MLAs are in states, come from smaller area. MPs are at center, come from bigger area. Okay, and this bifurcation varies from state to state based on population, because in our country population varies from state to state, density of population varies from state to state. As of now, just this basic information is sufficient. We'll discuss all this in detail again in future. Are you clear? If it is not understood, it's okay. The idea is that we'll discuss all these things later on in detail. Clear? Don't worry. The entire state of Karnataka is divided into small parts. Those parts are called constituencies. People from this area vote and choose people who are called MP, one person. The same state is divided into smaller constituencies, which from where people vote and choose MLA. Now, what about MP of Rajya Sabha and MLCs? That is of no importance right now. Ignore it. Later on. Later on. Okay? Please. Don't panic at all. It is just very basic brief difference between MP and MLA. MP at the central level, MLA at the state level. Are you clear? Everybody? We are just discussing the most basic things. Just names. Right? Again, I can see somebody saying, what is Legislative Council? As I said, ignore it for now. Have the patience. Ignore it. We'll discuss it later on. The purpose of the slide was to differentiate between MP and MLA. Okay, that's it. Now, at the top, we have the central government, below it, state government, and even below it, what we refer to is the local self-government. So, we call this the local self-government. In the urban areas, so I believe a lot of you live in urban areas. In the urban areas, that local self-government structure is called municipality. And in the rural areas, so some of you might be living in rural areas also. So in the rural areas, that administrative structure is called what? Panchayats. Clear? A for urban, B for rural. Tell me how many of you live in urban areas and rural areas? A for urban area and B for rural area. Okay, not bad. A lot of you are from the rural background as well. Okay, great. Now finally, we saw the executive, we saw the legislature. Now the Mahamahim, the judiciary. Great. Not bad. A lot of you are from the rural background as well. Okay, great. Now finally, we saw the executive, we saw the legislature. Now the Mahamahim, the judiciary. Judiciary, 3 levels. At the bottom, we have the subordinate court. Subordinate courts are also called trial courts. What are they called? Trial courts. So if at any point of time I mention trial courts, don't be confused. I am referring to subordinate courts only, right? Clear? In the subordinate courts, we have 25,129 judges in total. Now, high courts. So we have one high court for every state. In total, we have how many high courts? 25 high courts. Sometimes some states share a high court, right? For example, Punjab and Haryana. For example, Goa and Maharashtra. So we have 25 high courts, and these high courts in total have 1114 judges. Clear? And then we have the Supreme Court. How many Supreme Courts? Only one Supreme Court in Delhi. With how many judges? 34 judges. Supreme Court will also be called the apex court. Apex means the top. So may also be referred to as the apex court. Okay? Don't be confused. What is this apex court? So subordinate courts, sessions court, district court, municipal court, civil court, right? Judicial magistrate court. All these courts are a part of subordinate courts only. Clear? That's it. Don't worry. You'll be able to remember all these things because the first class, you hardly know stuff. So this may be a lot of facts for you. Not required. When you see the same thing again and again, you will know all these things. That's it. So this brings us to an end of our discussion on the basic concepts. That is where we end our discussion on the very basic things. So right now, what we have discussed, what are the important articles? So this is what we do after every module. We discuss it. I'll just summarize and write for you the important articles. Two articles, 246 and 248. We also discussed one schedule. Which schedule? Schedule 7. And one important case that we saw, which was the Ram Javaya Kapoor case of 1955. Okay, so this is how we refer to the cases also in Supreme Court. The case name and the year in which the judgment was delivered. Clear? Now we'll move on to the next topic. And the first to be slightly different. Normally you'll find in Lakshmikant also, they start with article 1, 2, 3, 4, then citizenship and all. But it creates a lot of complication because when you start discussing articles 1, 2, 3 and all without having any knowledge of what is the parliament, what is the president's power, what is the prime minister's power, who's taking all these decisions, types of majorities, it creates a confusion, right? Then if you discuss fundamental rights without knowing the powers of judiciary, again it creates a problem. So rather than going that way, it would be more appropriate to firstly discuss the executive, legislature and judiciary. Once you know all these three things, then we can discuss the smaller points like elections in the country, article 370, union territories, schedule 5 areas, schedule 6 areas, emergency provisions, right? And then center-state relations. Once we are done with this, then we can discuss fundamental rights, DPSPs, fundamental duties. And lastly, when we are done with everything, then we can discuss what is the preamble. Because even the makers of our constitution approved the preamble in the very end. So we'll simply follow the makers of our constitution. This is by far the easiest way to understand politics, step by step. In this way, you have to assume lesser things, right? So this is going to be our format. Don't worry, it's a tried and tested format, the easiest possible way to understand comprehensively everything, right? So we'll be discussing the very first topic, executive, which is part 5, articles 52 to 78. Don't panic at all on which articles, so many articles. I am telling this again and again, that I will tell you which article is important, okay? And since this is the first class, you may feel, oh, so many numbers are there. Don't worry. This journey is a very long one. You'll have at least 500-600 days, right? For a lot of you have more than that. So the only thing is keep on revising, you will mug up everything. Okay? Don't fall prey to mnemonics or some shortcut technique to learn. We are not kids now. We have matured. So rather than that, focus on comprehensive understanding of things. Okay? First up is the executive, part 5, articles 52 to 78. Before we discuss executive at the central level, one small topic to be discussed. This is something we should know in our country. Order of precedence, right? Order of precedence. Think of this. You go to a family function. Your grandfather, you, and your father. All 3 people are there in the function. There is only one chair. Who will sit on the chair? President will sit on the chair? Grandfather will sit on the chair. Okay? Of course. Grandfather will sit on the chair. Why? Maybe your grandfather is not taking a decision in the house. Maybe your father is running the house. But still, it does not really matter who controls power. There is a decorum, a respect, right? Seniority. The same thing happens in the government also, right? The government also has a ceremonial protocol list. This is nothing but a list of or hierarchy of all the important dignitaries, functionaries in the country. So this list basically is a hierarchy of important dignitaries, right? Functionaries. So which is used for ceremonies. It's a protocol, an order, a system. These are English words, not political science words. English words. Protocol, a system in place for ceremonies, important functions, right? So if you ever get selected in Lavasna and the training, don't say what is Lavasna now, forget Lavasna. If you ever get selected in a training institute for UPSC, you go to the UPSC training institute, you sit there and you have to give a speech now. The president is sitting there in front of you, the PM is sitting there, all your friends are there. You won't start by saying, hello friends, hi president, hello PM. No, there's an order. You refer to the president first, then to other people. That's called the ceremonial protocol list. I gave the example of the grandfather. That is what you're following in life also. Protocol is followed, system is followed, right? So this list hierarchy is maintained by the Home Ministry. Home Ministry maintains this hierarchy. So this is the order of precedence. At the top, we have, of course, the President of India, right? Then we have number 2, Vice President of India. Then we have the Prime Minister of India. Number 3, then governors. These are all governors. We have the Prime Minister of India. Governors. These are all governors in their state. Okay, Kalraj Mishra, Governor of Rajasthan. Arif Mohammad Khan, Governor of Kerala. And R.N. Ravi,